we are going to make the most delicious loaf of fresh milled sandwich bread. This is actually my fresh milled sourdough Pullman recipe, but I'm adapting it to yeast, and I'll talk in a few minutes about why I'm switching some of my fresh milled recipes from sourdough to yeast. But first, let's get our dough going, and I'll talk more about this along the way. So the first thing I'm going to do is weigh out 370 grams of hard white wheat and 160 grams of kamut. Okay, so we have our wheat berries weighed out in grams, and I always recommend, if possible, that you weigh your wheat berries in grams and then mill them. The reason is because it's just more precise and repeatable. So when you put, say, 100 grams of wheat berries through your mill, what you get out is 100 grams of flour. But let's say you put in 1 cup of wheat berries, what you get out might be 2 cups of flour or 1.5 cups of flour. And then you have to measure that, and everyone packs the measuring cups differently. Everyone's grind size is a little bit different, so it isn't quite as precise. Also in this bowl, as I mentioned before, is a combination of hard white wheat and kamut. To make bread with fresh milled flour, you can use any hard wheat berry or combination of hard wheat berries. I really prefer using mostly hard white wheat with a little bit, maybe about 30% or so of kamut, because I like that flavor. But it's really important to remember that whatever combination you use, it really needs to be hard wheat berries, because soft wheat berries don't work for bread. Hard wheat berries have more gluten in them, and soft wheat berries have less gluten in them. So if you're using soft wheat berries, you're just never going to develop the amount of gluten that you need to make good bread. But with all that said, let's mill this flour. The other nice thing about weighing in grams is that you can mill the flour right into the bowl that you're using. So that way you don't have to mill it into a separate bowl and measure it out. You are dirtying one less bowl, and I am always here for that. Okay, so the flour is milled, and now all we're going to do is combine the ingredients with the exception of the yeast and salt. So first I'm going to add about 20 grams or 2 tablespoons of vital wheat gluten and 10 grams or about a tablespoon of sunflower lecithin. I'm gonna share more about these additives in just a minute. Let's just get this dough going first. And then in goes 375 grams of water, 58 grams or about 1/2 stick of unsalted butter, and 30 grams of honey. Now all we need to do is mix these ingredients together just until they are combined and let them rest. Fresh milled flour contains oils that store-bought flour doesn't have. And those oils make it a little bit hard for a dough hook to catch the ingredients and really combine them at first. So if you use a paddle attachment just to get everything combined, that can make the process a lot easier. So this is mixed together, and right now the texture is probably not what you think a bread dough should be. It's pretty soft and kind of sticky. It's maybe more akin to a cookie dough at this point than a bread dough, and that's completely normal. At this point, the reason why this dough feels a little bit different than a regular bread dough is because it's fresh milled flour. Fresh milled flour contains 100% of the wheat berry, meaning it has the endosperm, bran, and germ in it. When you buy white flour from the store, it's just the endosperm. If you get a whole wheat or a whole grain flour from the store, it's the endosperm with some of the bran and germ mixed back in. But because it has all of the bran and germ in here, it doesn't absorb water as quickly as a white flour does. So that's why it's a little soft and sticky right now. So what we do at this point then to get that consistency we're looking for is we let these ingredients rest. We need to give the bran and germ time to soak up some of that water. So I'm going to let the dough rest for about 45 minutes or so, and then I'm going to add the yeast and the salt. The reason why we don't add the yeast and salt at this point is because we don't want that yeast to start making the dough rise yet, and we also don't want the salt to absorb the water. We want the bran and germ to absorb the water. Okay, while we wait, let's talk about vital wheat gluten and sunflower lecithin. So these are added ingredients that can improve the texture and quality of your fresh milled breads. They are not required, but they do help. So some people don't like to use these ingredients because they are not whole foods. They are naturally derived, but they are extracted from other foods. So vital wheat gluten is gluten that's extracted from wheat, and sunflower lecithin is lecithin that's extracted from sunflowers. So some people don't like to use them because they aren't 100% whole foods and they are processed, but I do use them because they are naturally derived and they improve the quality of my bread so much that My whole family eats my fresh milled flour whole grain bread. The purpose of adding vital wheat gluten into your fresh milled flour bread dough is to increase the amount of gluten. When you're working with fresh milled flour, it doesn't always have the gluten strength that, say, all-purpose flour or bread flour has. So adding vital wheat gluten can give the dough strength and elasticity and make a softer bread. Sunflower lecithin is an emulsifier, meaning that it combines the liquid and the fats into the dough, which helps retain moisture and extends the shelf life of your fresh milled bread. If you have made fresh milled flour bread before, you've probably found that it gets dry really quickly and it molds really fast, like faster than you would ever imagine bread could mold, sometimes within a day or two. But sunflower lecithin combines and really works those fats and oils into the dough, which helps extend the shelf life. So by using these two ingredients, you can create a softer bread with a better rise that lasts longer. Okay, so we have let this dough autolyze or rest to absorb the water, and it's probably a little hard for you to tell on camera, but it's definitely not quite as sticky as it was before. I can handle it a little bit better. It still doesn't really feel like a bread dough yet, but it isn't quite as sticky. Now I'm going to add in 2¼ teaspoons of active dry yeast. That's about 1 pack of active dry yeast. And the reason why I really like to use yeast right now with my fresh milled flour bread is because it has a more mild flavor. When you use sourdough starter to leaven bread, it undergoes a long fermentation process that creates a sour flavor. But with active dry yeast, it doesn't really have that intense sourness. It tastes more like a regular loaf of bread. Now, I don't mind sour bread, but I do live with a 4-year-old and she does. So I have been using this pretty regularly with my fresh milled flour breads. The other reason why I like using active dry yeast is because it's fast. This will only take about an hour to proof, then an hour for a second rise, and then we bake it. So it just takes a few hours to make a loaf of bread, whereas if you're working with sourdough starter, it can take many hours, even all day to ferment your dough, depending on what type of flour you're using. There's a time and a place for both of them. I don't really prefer one over the other at the moment. I'm really just trying to work in what works for my life and lends itself to the ability to make homemade bread for my family. And right now for fresh milled bread, this is the better option for us. And then we just put in about a teaspoon of salt and we knead this. So now that we're actually kneading the dough, I am switching to my dough hook. So the paddle is really good just for combining those ingredients, but you do want to switch to your dough hook to knead your dough. So what I like to do is knead it for a minute or two and let it combine and form a ball in the mixer. And then I like to stop it for a second and just feel the dough. So you can see this is a little bit sticky still. It's probably a little hard to see, but it's sticking to my fingers quite a bit. I think we need a little bit more flour. And now if you've milled the exact amount of flour that you need for your bread, sometimes that can be a little annoying because now you don't have any milled flour. What I like to do is I like to mill a little extra flour here and there and keep it in my fridge. So that way I can add a tablespoon or so at a time until I achieve the right consistency. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of fresh milled flour that I have stowed away in my freezer, and then we'll incorporate that. And that should probably be enough for the right consistency. The thing about working with fresh milled flour compared to all-purpose or bread flour or any store-bought flour really is that it isn't quite as consistent and predictable. It depends on the type of wheat berry you are using. It depends on the growing conditions. It depends on your environment. So it's really important that when you're working with fresh milled flour, you're paying attention to the quality of the dough. So I don't really make any changes before I autolyze the dough. I make my changes during the kneading process like I am right now. That way, if I need to add extra flour, I can. If I need to add extra water, I can. And you can start to make those little micro adjustments to get the right consistency. Fresh milled flour feels different because it has a little grittiness for the bran and the germ, but the quality of the dough with fresh milled flour should be the same quality as it is with any other type of flour. So if you're familiar with making bread with all-purpose or other white flours, it's really still the same consistency, the same stickiness, the same window pane, which I'll show you in a minute, but with that added little bit of texture from the bran and the germ in the fresh milled flour. So I let it knead for a few minutes after adding that extra tablespoon of flour, and we're feeling pretty good here. So it might be a little bit tacky, which is kind of what I usually go for with the quality of my dough. That little bit of tackiness creates a softer bread. You don't want it sticking all over your hands or anything like that, but it is okay if it's a little tacky. So now what we're going for, that we have this consistency, is the Windowpane test. And I've only needed this for a couple of minutes, so it's probably not ready, but oh, we're actually getting really close. So it did tear. You can see I'm going to let this go just for another minute or two. Okay, let's check for the Windowpane test. So the Windowpane test is just a process of stretching the dough. And if you can see light through the dough before it rips, that means you have developed enough gluten. Some folks have a hard time with this with fresh milled flour. The secret is proper hydration, letting that dough rest so the bran and germ can absorb the water, and then making sure you're kneading it enough to develop that gluten. So let's see. Oh, that's looking really good. Maybe a little hard for you to see here. There we go. So you can see light's passing right through that dough and it's not tearing. So this is looking great. So now the next step is to let this rise. I'm going to put it in an oiled bowl, and I'm actually going to put it in my proofing box because I'm in a little bit of a hurry today. So I need this to speed up just a little bit, but we're going to let this rise for, I'd say, 45 minutes to an hour, and we'll get back at it. Okay, that was about 45 minutes and we are looking really good here. So what I'm looking for is for the dough to be about doubled in size and domed on top. It might take a little bit longer if you're not using a proofing box, but even still, when I let these yeast breads or yeast doughs rise at room temperature in my house, it still only takes about, I'd say, an hour and a half or so. So the next step is we are going to shape this and get it in a Pullman pan. So a Pullman pan is just this rectangular loaf pan with a lid. As you can see, it just slides on and off. And these were originally used on trains. So that way in the cafe car, they could make bread and then easily stack the loaves because they were rectangular and flat. They were able to stack them on the train without taking up too much space. So I really like using this pan because A, it's a bigger loaf of bread than your regular loaf pan, but also the lid that comes with this, when you use it for baking, it traps steam inside of the pan. So while it bakes, your bread retains moisture. So to shape this, all I'm going to do is just turn the dough out onto the counter. And I like to line the pan up with the dough. So that way I can just gauge how long I need to stretch this. Now, I really want to emphasize here that with fresh milled flour, I don't punch down the dough like you would with regular flours. And the reason why I don't is because that bran and germ is a little sharp and it can pop the bubbles in your dough. So I'm trying to retain as much rise as I can with this dough because I don't want those bubbles to pop. And then once I have it about the length of the dough, I'm just tightly rolling it into a log. There's a lot of different ways that you can shape bread and sandwich breads. I just picked the easiest path. And then I'm going to just pinch this seam shut. And it's okay if it's not perfect because we're going to kind of shape it within the pan too. And then I'm folding over the edges until it's about the length of the pan. Now, one of the things that can help your bread rise more is to create tension. And rolling it and folding it like that doesn't really create a lot of tension. So I like to do what's called stitching the dough. And this is where you take pieces of dough from opposite ends and you stretch them across. So you're almost making a zigzag shape or a zigzag pattern with the dough. Fold the ends over again, and then I stitch it one more time. And this creates a lot of tension. And like I said before, there's a lot of different ways to shape bread. You can do whatever works for you. This method works for me. There's not really a right or a wrong way to do it. It's basically whichever one you feel the most comfortable doing. And now you might be able to see here that the length of the dough is a little more than the pan. Don't really worry about that. We're just going to flip the dough right on in there. And now I'm just going to press inside the pan to make the dough as even as I can inside. And this is where you do start to deflate the dough a little bit, but it will be okay. Okay, so the dough is shaped in the pan. You can see it's imperfect. That's totally fine. Your homemade bread does not have to be perfect. It's a skill that you can develop over time, but most importantly, you should be having fun with this. So just get it in the pan, shape it as best as you can. And now we're going to let this rise until it's about an inch away from the top of the pan. I'm going to put this back in my proofing box again, but you could definitely do this at room temperature. It took about an hour for the second rise, but now that it is about an inch from the top of the pan, I'm going to put the lid on. Now, the lid for the Pullman pan is optional, but if you're looking for a really soft bread with a thin, light crust, I really recommend using the lid because that lid holds the moisture in and creates the conditions for that really soft bread. I bake this at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for about 50 to 55 minutes. What you're really looking for is for the internal temperature to reach 200 degrees Fahrenheit. And now I'm just turning this out onto a wire rack to cool all the way to room temperature. Anytime you're making homemade bread, you want to wait until it cools all the way to room temperature before slicing it. Otherwise, the texture can turn gummy. So as hard as it is to wait, I really recommend that you do. But you can see here, this bread turned out beautifully. The crumb is even, the crust is nice and thin and light. And when you squish a slice of this, you can tell that it's really soft. Sometimes with fresh milled flour bread that's made without vital wheat gluten and without sunflower lecithin, it's a little crumbly and dry, but this is really soft and really flexible, just how you want a sandwich bread to be. This really is the softest and most mild tasting fresh milled sandwich bread that I have made. I hope you learned some tips along the way and that you enjoyed this recipe too. Thanks so much for stopping by today, and I'll see you again next time.